Okay, I am here with Connor, an 11 Degrees coach, and he has an amazing system that he's created that helps people figure out what's important to them and create goals based on that. So I'm just gonna hand it over to you, Connor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So remember when we were having the conversation and I mentioned that I felt like goals weren't quite like getting it. Remember when we talked about that?
Yes.
So the whole idea is the importance of like living kind of a heroic life and being like the hero in your story. Cuz like Lord of the Rings, like movies like that, like there's so much epic stuff going on, and then like in our daily lives we do boring stuff, which is like little stuff is part of life, but we can also live like a really full, like amazing life and really like strive um, for things that are both enjoyable and fulfilling, but also like epic and heroic. Hopefully, I
Yes.
mean that would be cool.
Absolutely.
So like reframing goal to quest, I feel like opens up kind of a new relationship to striving. At least it does for me. Um, this idea came from speaking with a friend of mine and kind of diving into why I loved like uh, massively multiplayer like games when I was a younger kid, because I could connect with people that way. Like I wasn't connecting with people as much like in high school. That's how I connected, was like through these like online games. You would do these like epic things and go through these quests. And then I found climbing, and then I was like, wow, you can like have the same feeling, you can have the same striving that you do in these games in real life. So then it was like, okay, like how can we how can we put this together in a format that makes sense? So this is what it's called, the Hero's Journal. And let's look at the quest log. So I'm gonna try to do this screen share now.
Okay.
Bear with me because it's the first time I've used Zoom. Okay, it's starting. You
Okay.
see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay. See this?
Yep.
Okay. So
Yay.
this is the quest log. So there's two parts, there's two main parts of it. The quest log helps you actually decide what you want to be doing. I think something I've seen from both coaching people in climbing and just life in general is that we'll have these goals, but we won't really understand like what's important to us or what our core values are, which is a huge part of it. Because like say like for you, Teresa, if um like what do you think your core values are? We've kind of talked about this a little bit.
I can't see. I need you to zoom in on the middle one there.
Yeah. So you've kind of told me, but here's the first part of the values. But just like say like maybe one that you feel like pops out to you.
Adventure.
Adventure. Okay. So say that like you're living like a very unadventurous life, and you're like pursuing a career that like doesn't fulfill you in that category of adventure. It's like you're maybe you might have a goal to like be really successful there, but it's not fulfilling you. So it's important to be in touch with our core values before we go outward and decide like what we want to pursue.
And I have been in a career like that, and it was painful. It felt like I had no purpose. It was like, what is all this for?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So the first step, here, let's go to the first page. The first step is to actually find a quest. But first, to do that, we need to define our core values. So basically, what you do is you look at this list of 2 pages. These core values are from Brene Brown. She's a total badass. So I borrowed her values that their company has made, because they make a whole lot of sense. So you start by circling 10 values that call to you. So let's go to these. I'm going to actually show you mine.
Cool.
That's not it. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. So I already did the workflow. I went to these 2 pages, this page. You can see my circles. I circled like 10 or more. I might have circled more than 10. Okay. So I circled those, and then I went back to here and I wrote them down. So you categorize your core values into 3 categories. So I'll just read all of mine: adventure, connection, contribution, creativity, curiosity, freedom, growth, knowledge, learning, self-expression, wisdom. So what I did here is I grouped all of those into 3 categories. So category 1, in each category, you're going to kind of find one that really resonates the most. So the one that resonated in category 1 for me the most was freedom.
Okay.
All these kind of get at freedom, but I found that freedom was really what I was trying to get out of that first one. The second one, learning and knowledge are important to me, but wisdom is like, to me, wisdom means like knowledge experienced. You're like putting that knowledge into like, what's the way to say that? You're embodying knowledge.
Right. You're actually using what you know. You're not just learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that wisdom came out as like the number one. Category 3, like contribution is really important to me. But I realized that like self-expression in itself is the most important part. So if I'm like doing and not sharing, like I'm not going to feel as fulfilled.
That makes sense. What was the name of this again? What do you call this? A hero's
Journal.
A hero's journal.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like it follows the hero's journey dichotomy, but in a journal. So it's kind of like a play on words.
Cool. Very cool.
So that's the first part. I feel like that's one of the most important parts. After that, you're gonna actually like decide what category of quest you're gonna pursue once you know your core values, and then you're gonna pick your quest, daily habits, pick your mentors, figure out your timeline, and so on. But this value part of it is I think the most powerful part, because I'm gonna unshare. Do you want me to share the screen more, or do you want me to go back to face? Because now we can kind of talk about it.
It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, let's just talk about it then.
Okay.
Are there any questions coming up so far that you see?
Well, yeah. So my question is, like, if I wanted to get one of these journals, I know that you're in the infant stage of creating this. Is it available yet? And do you know the pricing yet? And will it be available to clients?
It's done. It's completed. I just everything that's happened lately. I was actually in the stage of figuring out printing.
Okay.
And getting it actually printed. So
we can just make it known available. When you have that all done, we can make it available on the 11 Degrees website for purchase, because I know I want to go through the process. And one of the things that I've always talked very highly about you, you're the reason that I was able to perform and compete and qualify for Horseshoe Hell. And
that's awesome.
You helped me walk through different goal or quest. It was a quest. It really was a quest. It was way beyond a goal. It was a quest inside of me. So I just want to share that with other people and share you with other people. Your knowledge, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that are hungry for this and they want to do amazing things. And you helped me realize why I was doing it. Because people would say, why do you do these things? I have no idea. And now you gave me the knowledge, the wisdom of why I do the things that I do. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's like the important bit for me that I want to share with people, is like connecting with their purpose and like embodying their contribution like in the world, you know? So like figuring out what's important and then like being that and just like experiencing themselves be that in the world.
Right. Well, and when you were training me for the rock climbing competition, I can totally relate to being, I was heavy into the coaching system for real estate, and I'm going to do 150 transactions, and and I was making a lot of money, and I was like, what is this all for? And going through this process made me realize that I was not getting any adventure, and that's a really important core value to me. And so it gives you clarity going through this process.
Yeah, you can kind of understand if what you're actually pursuing is fulfilling you.
Right.
Because I heard this, so I was listening to this talk yesterday, and there's like clinical depression, but then there's like this layer of it's like a meaningless layer, like when you don't feel like your life is fulfilling, you don't feel purpose.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we get those confused, and really we're like people who have had depression, because I've seen this with myself. You get through depression, but you think you're still there, but really you're just in this zone of like realizing what you're doing isn't meaningful. Exactly. And it isn't fulfilling you. And those feelings are sometimes confused, but I think that's sometimes what we realize is we get through like these depressive states, and then we're like in this zone of like, well, I don't feel happy, but it's like, well, because you're not like doing something that's fulfilling, and now you're like aware of it.
Yeah. Well, and Tony Robbins teaches that. He teaches if you're not growing, you're dying. In your relationships, in your life, in your job, everything. And so I think that's where that feeling comes from. So that completely resonates with me. Yeah.
Yeah, that resonates with me as well. Yeah, with the growing. Yeah, because you can be feeding something that's not serving you.
Right, which I was doing, trying to get to 150 deals in real estate.
Totally. Yeah. It's like, that would be cool, but like,
yeah,
why?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, so you're gonna be offering classes through 11 Degrees. We're taking people through the journal, and
yeah.
We'll have a timeline when that becomes available, but it's coming very soon.
That's something that honestly would be, because I'll be able to do like consultations with the journal. I could do that now.
Okay.
Because this stuff will kind of have to pass, like everything will kind of have to normalize a little bit more for me to get this like printed and get the book ready. So we can do the consultations, and we can do the walkthrough, and I can even give people the tools to use the daily journal now.
Okay.
They just won't be able to have a hard copy of the journal.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm going to end it there on that note. Thank you, Connor. And we'll have the information on the website soon. And very much grateful for you and appreciate you. So
thanks. Likewise.